Good morning. My name is Maria Kaufman. Today I'm going to be sharing what I've learned throughout my ENG 695 Principles of Second Language Acquisition course, part of the IELT OZARKS project through Missouri State University. This is my Sla Model Project. Creating a cake is like second language acquisition. First, I begin by creating a cake by understanding the occasion and knowing the preferences of the friends or family who will be there. If I don't know my crowd, the cake will not be a success. For example, today I'm making carrot cake. It would be an absolute bust if I were taking it to a family event, as 75% of them hate carrot cake. For SLA, teachers begin with researching their students. The first step in TESOL's 6 principles for exemplary teaching of English learners is to know your learners. After I know my audience in the cake making process, I start hunting for the perfect recipe on Pinterest, cooking websites, or even inside a large stack of personally owned cookbooks. Teachers may research different methods, resources, and techniques online and in textbooks or through shared resources for ways to best teach their ELs. The 9th principle for instructed language learning from Ellison Shatani, 2014, is that instruction needs to take account of individual differences in learners. Our knowledge of our students should be reflected in the recipe of learning we bring to the table. Once I found the recipe to use, the next step is creating the ultimate setting for creating the cake. I want a clean kitchen with a fully functioning refrigerator, oven, and sink. There should be enough counter space to spread out all of my ingredients and materials. I need to make sure that all of my ingredients are stocked. For me, I like good lighting so I can see everything clearly. An apron because I'm messy. And some music on to sing along to as I mix and bake. I need to preheat the oven and do my least favorite thing of greasing and flouring the cake pans. TESOL's second principle is that teachers create conditions for language learning. 3 of the 8 principles for practice relate to creating these conditions. Number 4 is promoting a belief in the potential for everyone to improve their abilities, or growth mindset. Promote positive emotions and reduce anxiety in the language classroom. And finally, number 7, plan with motivation in mind. Next, I need to pull out all of my cake's ingredients. Some ingredients are standard to almost all cakes. Without them, your cake would fall flat, be a rock, stay a liquid mess, or taste awful. The customary cake ingredients are flour, baking soda or powder, some type of oil, and in our case, applesauce today, eggs, and sugar. In SLA, a standard to success is providing students deliberate practice. The essential conditions of SLA, number 5. And then there are also 4 listening skills according to the SIOP model, number 6. And that's providing practice in 4 skill areas: listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Here are the more unique ingredients to each cake. In today's carrot cake recipe, the unique ingredients are quite controversial. Cooks argue over too much moisture, overpowering taste, and even the size of the carrot shreds. Today's recipe includes carrots, pineapple, pecans, coconut, and cinnamon. A distinctive ingredient of SLA that often changes based on the teacher, class, and individual students is input, but it is essential throughout multiple EL teaching theories. The 4th essential condition of SLA is giving usable input and feedback. The 6th principle of instructed language learning is that successful instructed language learning requires extensive second language input. The 3rd of the 6 TESOL principles is to design high-quality lessons for language development, which includes improving input through a variety of methods. The third factor in the SIOP model says teachers should provide comprehensible input to learners throughout the lesson. Comprehensible input comes from Krashen's theory that EL teachers should teach from the I+1 level, which means educators know where their students are at and teach at a slightly higher level. They have the background knowledge, known links, and are offered nonverbal input to attach the new learning to so that it makes sense and can be acquired. The following step in the process is to mix all the ingredients together. The order matters though. In this recipe, you'll see that there are 3 stages of mixing. If you don't follow these steps in order, things get messy and may not turn out as well. In much the same way, the 5th of the 11 principles from Ellis and Shitani for instructed language learning says instruction needs to take into account the order and sequence of acquisition. This goes right along with Krashen's natural order hypothesis, which says language is learned in a predictable order. So, first, you've got the sugar. You add in the applesauce. And the room temperature eggs. And this is step 1. Step 2 is adding in the all-purpose flour. And you should never do this all at once. Hopefully I won't end up doing it all at once. The baking soda, baking powder, salt, and finally the cinnamon. Go slow so you don't end up with a flour cloud. Make sure to incorporate the rest of the flour and scrape the sides as you go. Finally, you add in the last little bit of everything, the pineapple, the carrots, the vanilla, and the pecans and coconut. And you have to start going really slow because you're getting a very full bowl. Then we must put the cake batter and pans into the oven. Without this essential step, there would be no cake. Just liquid batter. It must also be given the precise amount of time at the accurate temperature, or else it might not be completely solidified. In SLA, the heat that changes all previous efforts into actual acquisition is group interaction. The first of the 8 principles of practice by Williams, Mercer, and Ryan, 2015, reminds us to be group-centered and student-centered. The 8th principle of the 11 by Ellis and Shitani says the opportunity to interact in the second language is central to developing second language proficiency. If we do not give our students enough time interacting in deliberate practice, their SLA might not solidify as we hope either. Before frosting a cake, it is essential to let it cool down so that the cream cheese and butter-based frosting doesn't melt. Much like regulating the temperature of the cake, teachers should encourage students to self-regulate during the SLA process. It is the 5th of the 8 principles and part of the 3rd TESOL principle. Self-regulation, according to Williams, Mercer, and Ryan, is the idea that students can learn to monitor and evaluate their own behavior and choose strategies to attain and use language. Finally, to make the carrot cake as pretty as possible, you should ice it, and I like to add a little flair with shredded coconut and toasted pecans. In SLA, this could equate to Ellis and Shintani's 7th principle of successful instructed language learning, also requires opportunities for output. Brown and Larson Hall describe output as the chance to produce language externally and then reflect on the language produced. I think this ties in with the second essential condition of SLA, where teachers provide feedback. Students do not automatically have self-reflection skills in 2nd grade. They need the modeling of their teachers through feedback, chances to practice with peers, and then hopefully they attain positive self-reflection skills in scrutinizing their language output. Baking a cake is like second language acquisition. There are standards teachers should always seek to implement, unique processes that may add flavor to our class, and ideas that, when applied, seal the acquisition process long-term into the minds of our ELs. It is also important to note that, like baking the cake for me, it should be fun along the way, and at the end, everyone should be thrilled to have shared in the process.